Anime recap: a boy teams up with his sister to save a village from a demonic threat. A sword's hilt appearing out of the broken Yorichi Type 0 startles Tanjiro, Kamado, and Kotetsu, who shout in shock. Their surprise quickly shifts to fascination and excitement as the pair attempts to deduce the age of the blade. Kotetsu urges Tanjiro to take the sword, but Tanjiro is adamant on the fact that he could not, and that the doll breaking to make it appear wasn't completely his doing. Kotetsu insists that as the owner of the doll, he has the final say and that Tanjiro should take it, especially considering how he needed a new blade anyways. Caving in, Tanjiro pulls out the blade as Kotetsu watches excitedly in anticipation, but they are crestfallen after seeing the blade had rusted with its age. Kotetsu tries to apologize to a tearful Tanjiro for getting his hopes up, but they are suddenly interrupted by a muscular Hataru Haganazuka emerging from the woods. Hataru mentions that he heard their conversation and tries to take the sword from Tanjiro and Kotetsu, who resist. They try to get Hataru to explain his motive, but the swordsmith continues to try to take the sword and finally forces it out of their hands. Kozo Kanamori appears behind Hataru and tickles his sides, making him fall limp. Kozo greets Tanjiro and Kotetsu and goes on to explain Hataru's situation. He states that Hataru had been remotely training in order to improve his forging skills so he could make a strong sword for Tanjiro, in which the demon slayer happily admires Hataru's thoughtfulness. Kozo continues on, saying how Tanjiro's repeated requests for swords from Hataru made him happy, as he lost many of his clients with his personality. Amidst their continuous chatter, Hataru suddenly regains consciousness and confidently declares that he will fix the rusted blade. Kotetsu fusses over how he could have just easily explained before they fought over the sword, which results in an angered Hataru lifting Kotetsu by the neck. The next day, Tanjiro talks about Hataru's progress on the sword with Genya Shinazugawa, who, angered by Tanjiro's presence and attempts at friendliness, tries to get him to leave. When he starts yelling, Tanjiro notices that the tooth he had pulled out a few days ago had reappeared. He questions him on this and shows the tooth he had picked up as proof, disgusting Genya and resulting in him being kicked out of the room. Saddened, Tanjiro ponders his fellow demon slayer's consistent anger. Later that night, a swordsmith strolls through the village after a bath and encounters a pot on the ground. Curious, he reaches for it but is suddenly engulfed by the pot, killing him. Gyokko, the upper rank 5, emerges and comments on the poor quality of the swordsmith as a meal. Elsewhere, upper rank 4 Hantengu cowers on a roof and states they must quickly accomplish their mission. An asleep Tanjiro Kamado is woken by Muichiro Tokito pinching his nose. The mist Hashira questions Tanjiro if he knew Kozo Kanamori's whereabouts, as he was his new swordsmith. Tanjiro mentions that he was likely with Hataru Haganazuka and offers to help find them. Muichiro asks why Tanjiro would willingly accompany him when he had other things to be doing, and Tanjiro replies he believes helping others would positively benefit him. At Tanjiro's words, Muichiro feels a strong sense of familiarity and questions him on what he had just said. The demon slayer tries to reply, but is hit by an awakened Nezuko, breaking Muichiro's perception. Seeing Nezuko, Muichiro comments on her uniqueness and wonders where he'd seen her before, while Tanjiro worries about Shichamaru, Tamayo's feline assistant, appearing before them. The trio keep thinking about their respective worries, and Tanjiro and Muichiro sense a presence behind the doors. When they glance over, Hantengu crawls into the room without radiating his presence as a demon. Tanjiro and Muichiro both realize Hantengu is an upper rank and prepare to attack, with Muichiro immediately using mist breathing, 4th form, shifting flow /. Hantengu swiftly dodges to the ceiling and cries, begging the demon slayers not to hurt him. Tanjiro tells himself not to hesitate, and uses Hataru's newly forged blade to attack Hantengu with Hanakami Kagura, Sunflower Thrust. Hantengu dodges again, but receives a blow from Nezuko in her awakened form. Tanjiro tells Nezuko not to transform, and meanwhile, Muichiro successfully beheads Hantengu. Tanjiro remembers that beheading an upper rank does not necessarily result in its death based on his prior fight with Daki and Jotaro, and yells at Muichiro to keep his focus. Right as he does so, the severed head and body transforms into two new demons, one of which holds a leaf-shaped fan. Muichiro attacks the demon with the fan, while Tanjiro takes on the other. As Muichiro rushes to attack, the demon waves his fan at him and intensely blasts Muichiro out of the building. Tanjiro and Nezuko manage to hold on to the rubble and come face to face with the two demons. Karaku, the demon with the fan, asks his partner Sekido if he was having fun. Sekido responds negatively, and uses his staff to emit bolts of lightning-like attacks, which slowly make Tanjiro lose consciousness. Before he does, he sees Genya Shinazugawa on the rooftop pointing a gun at Sekido. Genya Shinazugawa shoots both Sekido and Karaku with his Nichiren gun, blasting off Sekido's head and nearly decapitating Karaku. Karaku expresses enjoyment towards the fight as Genya rushes in to slash off his head with a Nichiren sword. Tanjiro yells at Genya that his attacks were futile and the demons were willingly being beheaded so they could keep splitting and increase their attack power. As the battle continues, Tanjiro desperately analyzes his opponents and tries to pinpoint their weaknesses, but his thoughts are interrupted by a third, bird-like demon, Urogi, who lifts him up into the air with his foot. Realizing that each demon has a unique ability, Tanjiro instructs Nezuko to assist Genya, but horrified, he realizes that his teammate had been impaled by a fourth demon, Izetsu. Urogi taunts him for worrying about others and not himself, proceeding to generate a sonic scream. Tanjiro attempts to counter with a Nakami Kagura and successfully cuts off Urogi's leg, but he is unable to dodge his scream and is violently struck with the attack as he falls. Tanjiro plummets through the trees and lands hard on the ground. He pleads himself to get up and protect the village, but his injuries render him incapable of easily moving. Izetsu lands near him and holds his leg down as he directs another shriek, and Tanjiro silently watches in alarm. Elsewhere, Muichiro dashes through the forest as he makes his way back to the village. He spots Kotetsu trying to hold off a minion fish demon and internally decides that he is not of priority to save, considering the boy's lack of refined swordsmanship skills and the importance of the village chief. However, as he hears Kotetsu's cries as the demon grabs him, Muichiro remembers Tanjiro's words of how helping others would positively benefit himself. He slashes the fish demon's arm, releasing Kotetsu, and stands guard over the boy while requesting for him to run so he wouldn't be in the way. And this brings the anime to an end. Comment for part 4, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.